So I wanted to give you a couple of hints and tips and stuff in terms of how to actually deal with PhD interviews and what not to say during PhD interviews, because I know it's a really stressful time. So I want to give you a couple of sort of heads up of like, I don't know if this is the right thing for you. I've been on both sides. I've done the interview stuff. And I'm on the other side now where we actually do interview people for the program that I'm at. It's an amazing program. So, if there's people that are out there. But what I would suggest is if you say these things, it kind of gives a little bit of a red flag in terms of maybe you're not ready. And so these are things that I myself might have said at one point. So don't feel bad if you're going to say them or you said them. And I know I've said these things. That's why I'm sort of raising it, and I want to let you know with these particular things because they're so important in terms of letting you know what the career is about. That's actually part of the reason with the Reciprocity Project is to kind of share, give back and let you know so that you're not going through the exact same experiences for me. I grew up in a town in Northern Ontario in Canada, and the nearest university was 4 hours away. There was nobody I knew that was in higher education. So I'm just kind of helping you out. And because I know that there's lots of people around the world that were in my situation. So here are a couple of things that you probably should not say in your PhD interview. The first thing is do not say that you're getting the degree for consulting. Because if you go and say that you're going to go and do it for consulting, that means that all of that research effort that you've done is going to waste for the research faculty that are there, right? So research faculty want you to do research because you're going to be working with them. And there's this kind of like chain that happens, right? So when you work with faculty, when you come in, faculty are working with faculty that they worked with before, and so on and so forth. And so when you come in, you work with those faculty and you're part of the chain. So if you go into consulting and profit off some of the knowledge that's created, it's a little bit of a broken chain at that moment. And so especially with consulting, sometimes people feel it as you're violating a norm. I personally don't really care that much about it. I think it's, whatever, that's your choice. That's your life choice, right? So I really don't have anything to say, but some people really view it as sort of a violation of the sort of code within academia. And now the other thing that you probably should not say is don't say that you're going to be doing your PhD because you want to teach. That's usually a red flag because there's nothing about a doctoral program ever that really gets into teaching. If you want to do that, go and become a teacher. If you want to teach in a university, in any program, right? If you want to teach in a business school, a lot of business schools don't require you to have a doctorate to teach in a business school. You just need an MBA or some really relevant experience. So why would you go through all the effort to go and teach? It's a research degree, so you spend almost all of your time. I remember in my own doctorate, we had a teaching session. I think it was a day that we spent, maybe 2 days that we spent on case teaching and learning about case teaching. And then we spent an hour or two talking to different faculty in terms of how to teach. And this was a really heavy teaching related school where people sort of valued teaching. It was a really strong thing. So, I just would not go there. I don't think that is a sort of good way to frame what you're doing. You're doing it for the research that you're interested in and solving interesting problems and working on interesting problems. From there, the teaching is sort of assumed that you're going to go and do teaching and sort of spread the word to other people about what this interesting things that you're doing. Because if you're interested in this one thing and you're really passionate about it, often you become a good teacher anyways. You learn how to do that as you go, as you develop as a person. Now there's going to be teaching opportunities and you're going to have various different opportunities, but the really top schools, so when I did my doctorate, I did not teach at all. I TA'd a little bit, and it was it was discouraged because that was taking away from research. So you have to really think about that. That is a research career. And it's totally a research career, everything that you're doing. Now, the other thing that I think is very important, do not say that the institution that you're applying to is below you. You do not have the right to say that at this moment because you're not in a doctorate program. You don't know what it actually takes to get a doctorate. So if you went to so-and-so prestigious university in your undergrad and then you're applying to all these different doctoral programs and you get an interview that is, below the status of that institution, you know what? You really do not have, you cannot say that that is below you in any sort of way or signal that. Sometimes it's very subtle things that you might signal, whether it's how you sort of interact or, just different sort of versions of that. And this happens a lot. And it is something that we have to be careful about. So I do this, but I have to be careful about it as well. So I'm just saying I'm just human, right? But you have to be very careful and sort of measured and think about what you should do in terms of, just don't sort of send off those signals that it's below you. And because they're already thinking that on the other side. They're already thinking, well, so-and-so is applying to this institution. You've gone to this other institution. Why are you applying here? And so if you give even just little tiny subtle hints that it's below your institution or you went to some high-finagled place, you're giving off kind of bad signals with that. So I also want to point out too, is that the institutions that you're applying to, it's often there's great people at places that are quote unquote below you. Amazing people, and it just so happens that they just want to stay there because of family and things like that. So do not discount what's going on. The academic world is totally different the way that you think it is in terms of the way it's marketed. The academic world is set up with sort of small research clusters where there's exciting people doing different things, and there's stars at every school you've ever thought about that are doing amazing things. You just have to find the right program. And then once you find those stars, then they just kind of, they do amazing things. They're very, very productive at every single sort of institution that's out there. So the other thing that is a little bit of a red flag is that you're uninterested in reading and doing research. It's going to be very, very rigorous. In fact, you're probably going to be totally overwhelmed, totally stressed. You're going to feel a lot of uncertainty. You're going to feel very anxious. All these things are really normal. With a doctoral program, you're going to feel the worst that you've ever felt because it is such a push. It's so hard. It's probably, I interviewed somebody that was in the military before, and he did okay. So Charm McAllister, you can watch the interview from a few weeks ago. He does like 100-mile runs, 200-mile runs. And, it's still tough for him, right? So, hey, it's tough for everybody that's in the career. So I just don't want to discount it. And you're going to be pushed. It's going to be a real struggle. So just, don't go there in terms of you're thinking you're uninterested in doing reading and research and all those components. The other thing that you should maybe stay away from, so a fourth thing, is saying how a particular research idea, whatever it is, research idea blank, is invalid or silly or that you don't like or you're discounting those things. Sometimes that comes up. Sometimes there are real research ideas that are totally, invalid and that we shouldn't pursue those things and are kind of universally regarded as that. But I've been in so many situations where I've personally sort of eluded that. And then I find out that person is doing research in that area. And then I'm like, oh man, why did I say that? That was so stupid. That happens all the time because you just don't know what they're doing research on. So really, just be interested in everything. Don't sort of discount whatever's out there because there's always great ideas that are out there. The last thing is to point out. So the fifth thing is, you do not want to say that you are going to only publish in whatever you can get published in. You want to say that you are interested in publishing in the best quality journals that you possibly can. So the most rigorous standard that you possibly can. it is really hard to publish in those journals, very, very hard. But at the same time, you want to sort of signal that you're interested in quality. You're not just going to do things just because that's the way it is. Now, when you get into graduate school, that's totally fine to do that. But at the same time, you want to signal that you're interested in doing quality, and everybody's sort of standard of what quality is totally different. But you still want to signal that and let them sort of interpret what that means. And then, the other thing that you should probably point out is, so this is probably more true of people that are older. But sometimes younger folks feel this too, is that you just want to get by and retire. This is not the career for you to do that in. It's very rigorous, and they expect you to do really well all the way through. And the ones that are in that mode, yes, you can get into that mode after a while, but you probably went into the wrong career anyways. If you are thinking of that, you're just going to get in and get by, get tenure, or get your full professor, just get by and sort of cruise. That's not how it works. We want to encourage you to be excited about doing things, to be excited about having fun with research and working with different people. It really is kind of an addicting career, but you have to make sure that you're excited about that. So it's very competitive, very addicting, and you're going to have a great time. It's going to be tough, but you have to be ready for that, is what I'm saying. So don't just do things just to get by. It's not for you. You're not going to be doing this at this moment. It's not great for you. So those are things of what not to say during a doctoral interview.